Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Captain's Academy. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the upgrade options for your newly acquired Gozanti 2. The Gozanti 2 is a level 10 starter CV base. Coming in without thrusters and other devices, you will add these over time. Reason being is we want to get this thing at a cheap cost, so this is looking at our reforging price tag. Somewhat fractional in regards to vanilla price tag, so very easy access. Hopefully you have no trouble getting the cobalt to get this thing going, and if you do, what this thing will turn into is a mid-game miner, support vessel, light transport, or any number of combinations of roles that you might come up with. So let's get started looking at this upgrade options. So first thing we want to take a look at is our CPU. And we have a range here for up to a, for Reforged Eden, up to a 4 auxiliary 1. So for our improved, we have placement here up above the healing station, O2 station. Oops. And then that last section there, you could put some sort of auxiliary, or perhaps a quantum processor if you're Reforged Eden. Okay, so now that we have our CPU in place, let's go ahead and take a look at our thruster options. So we have a number of things going on here. Forward thrust can accommodate 2 advanced and 1 drive if you want to do that. You may or may not need that drive thruster. That's just kind of a option of emergency option. Perhaps you run into a high G planet or something to that effect, and so you could always nose up and get out. Okay, so having a look at our forward thrusts with our advanced drives. So what we're going to be looking for here is we can keep these here. This is a little stylish ring. We don't need to remove that. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of these blocks. Okay, and then here you don't want to push past the X. Looks like we're missing a block place. Oh, there we go. A little bit of guff there, but sometimes the placement of these devices. Now, so for the drive thruster, we're just going to remove this array here. Okay. There we go. There's our drive thruster. Again, this may be optional. You may not have to do that. Just depends on what sort of scenarios you might find yourself in. Okay, so for straight thrust, we're looking at 2 advanced. Oops. Yeah, we just don't want to push past the X's here. Okay. So same thing here. You can keep this double thin. You can keep that. You don't have to remove that. Alright, so that's straight. Now looking at our reverse thrust options. Okay, so here, this is going to be where you stop at. This is going to be the front of your advanced thruster. Just like that. So now this leaves us space for our lift thrust. So that's a reverse. And We're going to be looking at our lift thrust. This can be for advanced. Okay. So that's 2 there. Now, so I'm adhering to some certain sizing rules, so that's why this may be somewhat confused in this kind of half placement. It can't go past a certain width because I need this vehicle to fit into a acclimator in the somewhat distant future. So if we want to, we can just remove all of this block housing, or I'm sorry, block array. Okay. Yeah, so might disrupt the flow a little bit with this bleeding out, but it's there if you need it. Okay, so that's our strafe, that's our lift. Let's look at our down thrust. It's just a pair. Pair of advanced drives. All right. Okay, so now that's pretty much it for the drive thrust. Now we do have optional. Well, I guess you could do additional drive thrust, but first of all, let's look at some of our large or medium options here. So popping these out. Now, if we wanted to, that could slot in for vanilla. That could slot in some mediums right there. Option here is if we want to do larges, we could take these blocks out. And that would accommodate that. Now, same thing here for forward thrust. If we wanted to, we would take these out. Boom. Okay. So now, if we wanted to, if we're not satisfied with that, maybe we need more thrust for some reason, so we could just go ahead and get rid of this whole block arrangement there. This will give us an additional... So that's what we're looking at there. That would be our configuration. So pretty robust for forward thrust. You should easily be able to push your cargo and then some. All right, so that's our thruster configuration. Let's go ahead and take a look at... Get these out of the way. Now, we have some options here inside of the wings. The fuel capacity isn't that significant right out of the gate. It's only like 24,000. So what you want to do, if you don't want to have to keep topping off fuel on a regular basis, then we have within our wings here a pair of compartments on either side. So we just access that through the shutter door here. Just you want to look for these symbols. Now, so what we want to do is if we want to expand our fuel, this is an option. Maybe we wanted to do something else, or could be cargo if you're satisfied with the fuel, or perhaps it could even be some additional oxygen or whatever you want to do. So for either side, or maybe mix and match, maybe fuel on one side or something else on the other side. So that'll take our 2 large fuel tanks and then the medium. So that'll bring us up to respectable 82,000 for the size of the vehicle. Okay, that's not too bad. Now, so moving on from that, we want to take a look at our generators. Several options here. It just depends on what you want to do, how you want to utilize the space. Coming in, we have a pair of 2 small generators. Now, if we wanted to, we could upgrade these by just simply by removing this block, getting rid of that. That could push us up to some larges on either side. Now, the main section for our generators is going to be right above here. So what we could do is we have placement for advanced. Essentially, it's going to be the value of the total value of two advanced drive. Or, I'm sorry, two advanced generators. So just continue to place our larges here. I guess first of all, if you'd want to place. So the idea here is, rather than do that, you'd want to, while you're manually placing this, you'd want to place this one first, and then you'll have access to place the other ones. Right, so that could give you a total value of two advanced generators and then some if you utilize these. Now, we do have another option here. We're going to the auxiliary room right here. So, we got a couple options on the floor here. So, what we could do is, if we are okay on our power, then we could utilize this floor as grow plots. Give us an 18 count. Okay, so that's one option. Now, if we wanted to, rather than do that, we could utilize these as an optional generator area. And then maybe you would want to do something with this section. You could do something else with that. It's entirely up to you. So it's got some options here. So same thing, you'd run some large generators here to fill that out. Or maybe we don't want to do either of those. Maybe what we want to do is moving on to our shields. Okay, so we do have a pair of shield mountings here. So you could go one charge or one capacitor. But if you want to utilize that auxiliary room for shield placement, then there is that option. So there's one placement now. Again, if we wanted to, there we go. So now when you're transitioning through, you don't need to use this area to go from the front to the back. You'd walk over it. So no concern there of burning yourself or anything to that effect. Okay, so that would be shield parts. Now, moving back to our hangar area, this is our starboard device compartment. So a couple things to look at. If we want additional constructors, we could take advantage of this space. So using these two constructors as a barometer, we can kind of see that we could cut into the walls here. Turn these sensors off. Okay, so so our options here, if we want to, so we've removed this wall section. Now what we need to do is remove this thin bit right here, these little light blocks. Right, okay, so that'll give us placement for additional constructors. Deconstructors, maybe you want to put a gravity generator in here somewhere. Now, continue just removing these light blocks. This is going to open up your placement for additional devices. So, right, so that's one thing. Now, another configuration that you could do is, so for vanilla players, for example, you're not going to be using the shield block, so you could utilize this as additional cargo space. So what you could also do is, if you want, just not do that. That's one too many blocks, I'm sorry. Or two too many, rather. So we want to get rid of these, and then what we could do is we could run our containers here, container extensions, and then maybe along this wall. Should be able to fit in a 32K, utilizing all of this placement and this here, so... I'm sorry, 320. So you could have a pair of additional 320s there if you want to do that. Now, maybe for Reforged Eden players, maybe you're not worried too much about having additional constructors. And maybe what you want to do is place some additional shields. So if we want to do that, we're going to go ahead and get rid of these thin blocks here. Right? So now what we can do is utilize the hangar space. Additional shield placement. And there we go. So this will leave a space for some constructors, deconstructors, whatever you want to do. Now, so that's our medium shield parts, and so for our small pieces here, we should be able to fill these out. These two blocks here, these two angled blocks, these can come out. So if they want to place right. Okay. So maybe we're fine. We do have, and this doesn't necessarily have to be a full medical suite. We do have one here at the deployment room. This is a full medical suite here, so maybe you want to stretch this top section out. Optionally, it could be additional shield placement, or maybe you want to go ahead and just make this like a full medical suite area, and whatever shield devices you can fit here, that's fine. Now for your main shield part. Pretty easy to tell here, the S for shield. There it is. So now we do have to feed this shield, so we're going to need a pentaxid placement. So that is going to be right here. So you want to look for the PN. It's also marked if you come in through the engineering section here. All right, so easy look. There it is. All right, so that's our pentaxid, all of our shield parts, CPU, constructors. If we want to look at a advanced repair bay, so one of our options here for the interior is we could go like that. Maybe we're not fine with that. Maybe we also want to repair some larger size SBs. Now, if we come forward to the bridge area, so if we're looking at this this block with the LCD, so we could do that as a placement. That's an option. And wherever you put the repair console, that's up to you. Maybe you want to place it in here somewhere. Super convenient. That's fine. Or, again, this could be your optional placement here for repairing HVs or whatever. All right, so now that's that. So let's take a look at our repair station and also our warp drive. Both in the same area. This is going to be the forward deployment room. This is going to be your placement. Okay, so I've kind of emulated a repair station block as best I could. So R there should be an obvious tell. So you're going to remove those two blocks and get this rotation right. Okay. And there it is. Now, warp drive. Should be an easy tell. WRP. There it is. So this block here designed to keep you from bumping up against a warp drive and burning you. All right, moving along, let's take a look at our heavy windows. I would have loved to be able to spawn in with the heavy windows instead of these here. Unfortunately, those come in with like a sapient cost, so that's not an option. So if you want to upgrade these windows, get rid of these things. Kind of looks like a school bus or something, these window types. So the recommendation here, what I had as a styling before was to go with this this look right here. Yeah, so that's my configuration. A recommended configuration. So if you wanted to, you want to stay color consistent, just go ahead and copy this color, that texture. And there you go. So that's how it would like to look spawning in as a starter. Right, so moving on. Now what we have for... Oh, by the way, being that it's a starter base CV, we're not going to be coming in with a control console, so this is our marking there, and there it is. Okay, so hydroponic lamp, let me make clear where that placement is. It should be an easy tell, but just to be clear. So you would just replace these lights. So if you're going to utilize this for hydroponic placement, then just go ahead and get rid of that. And there it is. Now you're growing your shield capacitor banks. Alright, radar. So probably a recommended radar placement would be this location right here. It's not too bad. Alright, moving along, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our weaponry. So for turrets and weapons, we have, it's a respectable range for what it is being a starter. Now, so I guess first thing we want to take a look at our weapon mounts. Should be an easy tell. They're getting rid of these antennas. We have placement here, so we would just want to get rid of these thin blocks here, and then you're going to look for that. You're not going to push past that, because then that's going to open up your cargo. You don't want to do that. So, right, so there's 6 right there. Now we do have mounts right here. So what we want to do is we're going to look underneath the cheek, and this is going to be our tail where we need to go. We're going to get that pulled out, and we're just going to keep pushing back till we get to the X right there, and that's our breakpoint. And then we're going to go ahead and, you know, this could be drills, it could be artillery, lasers, whatever you want to do. So maybe you want to do drills there instead of instead of artillery. And there we go. So we could also, actually you'd want to make sure you get rid of that block too, so you don't have obstructed fire. Okay, so that would be that. Now if we wanted to, we could mount some additional weaponry on the wingtips here, just by getting rid of these blocks. And then these. So you could do something like that. That's fine. Being on the edge of the wing there, it's gonna impact weight and roll and all that stuff. So these are a better placement as far as like the not impacting the performance stats as much. So, but maybe you're fine with this, and then you could do some block work on the top here to cover those up or something. It's a little more stylish effect. Right, so that's our mounted weapons. Let's go ahead and take a look at our turrets. So what we should be looking for here is the sort of like cabinet textures. So that could be a placement there. If you wanted to. The firing angles on this front bit, this isn't too bad. Even going up, it's not too bad. Now, if you wanted to, if you just wanted to make that completely clear, just get rid of that block. And that's going to help with the, like this looking up here. Okay, so that's that section there. Now we do have a placement here on the top top front section, you just want to look for this kind of armored plate looking one that's going to be your center placement, and there you go. Right, so we have some placement here. Again, sort of this cabinet texture, that's what you want to look for. That's going to be a big tell as you start to distribute your turret placements. So that could be a placement there. On the underside, right here at the front, bottom, there's a placement. I guess it didn't have any cabinet textures right here, but I'll get that sorted out. So you want to look at that as a placement. Here on this block, this is one. Yep, so it's got a few guns, not the most robust thing in the world, but you know, for a starter, it's okay. Should be respectable for some POI demolition. You know, some of the lighter POIs and stuff like that should be okay. Get rid of that. That's just holding the ship up. So that's let's see. That's also, we want to put one on the back here. We got a placement. Could go there or there. That's fine. So that'll protect you against some drones. So you want to maybe do a minigun or something like that. Some flak or something. Right. Okay. So we got a couple options here. Oh yeah, I forgot this one. Oh. So I think the total suite is like 15 forward firing turrets. That's not too bad. So now what we wanted, if we want to, we could make space for additional placement. So maybe we want to get rid of the lights here. And then that'll open up another placement right there. Could do the same thing here. So that's additional turrets. Should be good ground and pound. I guess that's generally what you'd want to do with a starter CV anyways, is go after some POIs. Yeah, I guess if you wanted to nose up over an enemy CV, that's an option, or you could just keep it pointed forward. You should get most of these. I think maybe these two here in the back, these two. Maybe these would have some difficulty with a forward firing arc, but other than that, all of these should be able to get them. So again, it's heavy bottom, good versus POIs. So if we don't want to utilize these two placements right here, these are designed to park the TIE Enforcers. These can be mounted vertically. So in regards to that, the TIE Enforcer, look for that on my workshop page. Now, if you reconfigure the landing gear, this is an option. You reconfigure your landing gear to mount vertically, then you could take advantage of that. Or I guess just, you know, whatever SV you can fit there. Maybe it could be even be HV. Doesn't necessarily have to be an SV. So you could park up to 4 of these if you wanted to do that. If I'm a good pilot today. Maybe I'm not. So I could clean that up a little bit. Yeah, something like that. So that's what these markings are. These are for the cutouts for like the TIE Enforcer, or maybe you want to park something else there. That's an option too. Now you probably could fit them in the hangar as well. That fit one of them in the hangar. It's not too bad. It's pretty respectable. You could also do some parking on top for SVs. Park here, and you'll have a quick entrance into the the control console area. So that's an option. So moving on to Reforged Eden, we're going to take a look at our solar placement. Not that robust. Should be enough to keep your farms going. So kind of, let's see. Let's take a look at the bigger one here. So what we could do is we could get rid of these thin blocks here. Now we do have placement on the bottom as well for a couple. But again, it's not that spectacular, this solar options. Again, we want to keep taking out these thin blocks. Oops. Ah. Terrible. I would love for there to be just like a one button and auto delete all this stuff. So that way it'd be easier for you guys to install it. But it is what it is. Yeah, so something like that. You'd probably want to change like the configuration here. So that way when you start, you're considering this deck or faux antenna, faux radar dish. Now, so that's like that would be optional top mount. Now, if you wanted to, there's some additional placement on the bottom. So yeah, could do something like that. I guess that's pretty much it. Now, if you wanted to, maybe you want to get rid of this one. So this one was the one that had the difficult firing arc, if I am not mistaken. So maybe you'd want to place some additional solar there instead of utilizing that as a turret. If you did that, you'd just remove these thin blocks. So it kind of is not working there. A bad placement. There it is. Yeah, something like that. Or maybe you want to do a little more style. Just go for this. Oh, that's not gonna work. Yeah, okay. Something like that. Yeah. It's not the biggest solar array in the world, but should be enough to power your farms or whatever. Kind of looks crazy with those on the side. Let's see here. So yeah, that's it. That's all of our device placement. It's for a starter CV base. It does size up decently well. Late game could be a good miner. So the problem here is that it spawns in as a steel body. So keeping that in mind. Now with the shield array, it's not too bad using the double fours for small and medium. That'll get you what, like 40,000 or something to that effect. So yeah, it could be a good, like, decent drone space farm or something like that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now last thing is taking a look at modding our colors. So a couple options here. What we're going to do is retrieve a color either from the workshop post or this section here in the ship. So for example, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this code here, hit Control C. Now with the tool texture pointed at the vehicle, we just go ahead and open that up, hit Configure. And at the top left there, click on that. And as we're holding down Shift and hit the left mouse button at the bottom left corner, gonna go ahead and hit Paste. And then we hit OK. Now we've modded our color. Simple as that. So same thing if we want to revert it back. Copy paste. Now you'll Eventually, you're going to want to be able to clear these out so that we can make space for CPU placement. And again, if you need that color code, it's going to be on the workshop post. That's it. Easy as that. Man, that's going to be it. That's everything there, folks. Thanks for taking a look. Gozanti 2, starter base CV on a workshop near you. Catch y'all next time. LyfeForce out. Hello, folks. If you enjoy my content, if you enjoy my builds, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you get access to custom builds of release works, early access to some builds before they hit the workshop, exclusive builds. You also gain access to direct feedback and engagement through polls, idea suggestions regarding builds before and after workshop release. If this interests you, please check out the pinned comment below. Thank you.